Hi guys, how are you doing today? I hope everything is going well and you're not dealing with as much drama as our OPs. For this video, I made a few changes to the background because I thought it might make the text easier to read. Please let me know in the comments if you prefer this version or the old one. Enjoy the story. I have been married for 41 years. I have 6 kids, 4 boys and 2 girls. The oldest is 41 and the youngest is 26. For reference, I had my kids at 20, 22, 25, my twin sons, 34, and 35. When the older 5 were growing up, I was very strict. I had them all on a routine as soon as possible, and they had daily, weekly, and monthly chores from age 3 until they moved out. Nothing crazy, simple things at first, i.e., tidy your bedroom every night, pick up sticks during yard work, etc. Until about 10, then they received more responsibility. I wasn't merciless. We took days off from time to time, we had lots of fun, and I had a very good relationship with my older 5. They will joke occasionally about life in the trenches and dramatically reference a childhood memory, but these are done in humor with lots of laughing. Then there is my youngest. I will call her 6. I was not strict with 6 because she from a very early age was sensitive and had a terrible temper. As a baby, she would throw horrendous fits that would require constant unbreaking attention to calm her down. Until she was about 4, she had similar rules when shopping as the older 5 did, which included rules like no touching glass or fragile items, no toys unless otherwise stated, stay by me and the cart, ask permission to go look at specific items, don't just run off. They aren't anything revolutionary. 6 could not abide by these rules. Consistent consequences did nothing for her either. The final straw in which I gave in and made her exempt from the rules was when she was about 4. We were in a shopping mall around Christmas and 6 wanted a toy from a particular store. I said no, and she went into a tirade, breaking several items, screaming at the top of her lungs, throwing punches at random people, trying to bite every one of her siblings and myself, and finally running away through the store while screaming and crying. I was chasing her as fast as I could through the store, my oldest running with me and my second oldest watching the younger ones. Finally, security joined in after 6 ran up to an older woman and bit her to the point of drawing blood. We were asked to leave the store. 6's victim chose not to pursue a case, and we went home. I told her father about what happened. The older 5 were buzzing about it too. 6 cried on her bed for a couple hours before she was calm enough to talk to us, in which she told us she was embarrassed and didn't like us talking about her. So we never mentioned it. We did take her to a child psychologist who said I was too strict with 6 and needed to back off. So I did. I kept the older 5 in their routine, but 6 had no responsibility. She didn't even tidy up after herself because she would go into a fit when asked. She also got to pick out a treat for everyone when we went to the store. The treat picking was a sore spot for the older 5, who wanted turns picking out something, as 6 didn't pick out things the family liked, but rather what she liked. So gumballs, gummy bears, orange slices, and candy jewelry were what they usually got, and they didn't like those being chocoholics. However, this kept 6 from exploding, so I allowed her to be the sole picker. Also, if I let the older 5 pick out something for themselves, 6 would wail the entire time until she went to bed, claiming that we hated her and didn't want to be her family. Inevitably, the next morning she would wake up seeing red the whole day or until someone sacrificed themselves to be her friend, slave, all day. This was usually 5. Fast forward to 2010 and everyone but 5 and 6 are moved out. 5 gets accepted to an out-of-state college and moves. Then it was just 6, my husband, and me. All of the older children went to college and paid for it themselves. 5 went to college and ended up working 2 jobs to pay tuition. In 2015, 5 graduates and moves back home. 5 works 2 jobs, one in his field of choice and one part-time job. 5 then buys a car. Now in 2013, 6 decided to go to college. We paid for it because 6 refused to work due to social anxiety. 6 claimed that college would help her dip her feet in the pool and get used to social situations. 6 didn't have any non-sibling friends growing up. She went to public school like the others, but never made friends due to her strong personality and inability to share or compromise, so she says this gave her social anxiety. 6 goes to 2 semesters worth of college before dropping out due to stress. So 5 bought a car and moved out, and this frustrated 6. She couldn't say one nice thing about 5 and ranted at the other 4 about 5 and claimed he was ashamed of the family and a pathological liar. This is not the case, but some of the siblings believed 6 because they weren't fully involved with 5 and hadn't talked to him since he graduated college, so they thought he had changed. This resulted in 5 being left out of a lot of family parties and events, which caused a huge argument when 5 showed up to an Easter party spitting fiery nails. The other 4 got angry with 6 for lying to them. My husband and I were angry because the other 5 had lied about inviting 5 to the get-togethers. The family didn't talk for a couple of months. It was eventually sorted out, but 6 has never apologized for her lies and the damage they did. In fact, when confronted, she cried and wailed about not wanting to live. The family panicked about her threats. My husband and I took 6 to the therapist for 8 weeks, and the therapist said we should help 6 get over her social anxiety with a car and monthly allowance and encourage her to go out and interact with people. We gave 6 my car because she would already run off to the gym and parks with it most days. A 2013 Chevy Equinox, and budgeted $200 a month for her. She has no bills or obligations, so it was easy for her to stick to the budget. When the older 5 found out about this, they were perturbed. They were frustrated with the college situation, but a free car and money was admittedly excessive, but we just wanted her to get better. Another thing to mention is 6 talks to her father and I like we're children, and will frequently curse us out over things like not having enough meat in the house, or not having the house clean enough, etc. This also makes the older 5 angry, as this is disrespectful and not how they were raised. Anyway, in 2017, 5 came out as gay to the family while also announcing his engagement to his fiancée, W. Before announcing this, he asked me if I thought 6 would handle it okay, and I thought she would. She handled the other 4 getting married just fine. Well, I was wrong. 5 introduced W and everyone welcomed him with open arms, except 6. 6 sulked the entire party, occasionally whining to the other 4 but mostly being ignored. Almost a year later, a little over a month before the wedding, 5 and W are at the house visiting us and helping my husband check the fit of his suit and my dress. We sit down to dinner and I called 6 up from the basement where she was playing video games and she ignored me, so we went ahead and ate after setting aside a plate of food for her. About an hour later, 6 storms up to the dining room and starts blaring curse word heavy rap, lots of use of the N-word, talks of very graphic S-acts, V, etc. I know I am a stuffy old woman, but it was very crude. Her father and I asked her to turn it off, which she did after we yelled at her. Then she turned to W and began berating him for no reason. He has been nothing but kind, friendly, and loving to our family. She called him several names, including a few slurs, insinuating that he was accused him of attempting to K our family, and compared him to fecal matter, claiming that he was unwanted. 5 stood up for W immediately before 6 grabbed my butcher block of knives and stomped into the living room, screaming about being neglected and overworked and carrying this family on her back, all of which is untrue. Her father and I went in to talk to her and calm her down, to which she screamed about the horrible dinner she didn't want and that she wanted fast food. So her father took her to go get fast food while I tried to smooth things over with 5 and W. W was understandably confused, but also upset. 5 was shaking in anger, but they both remained calm and didn't really talk to me, but instead kept exchanging angry glances. When my husband and 6 returned, 6 bounced into the dining room acting as if nothing happened at first, until her father asked her what she thought of her behavior. She nonchalantly said to 5 and W that she was sorry. She was just hangry, and that I should have made dinner earlier or stocked the house with the quick snacks she wanted to eat. Then she said she wanted to play Monopoly and asked 5 and W to join. It was very awkward silence before 6 asked 5 if they were good, and then 5 calmly informed 6 she was uninvited from the wedding and unwelcome in their lives. 6 said this hurt her feelings. 5 said she wasn't worth any of his time. Admittedly, my husband and I handled that statement poorly and defended 6 by reminding him she is his sister and that's not how you talk to your family, which only made things so much worse as we said nothing when 6 was berating and humiliating W. 5 and W left immediately, without saying goodbye, and we didn't hear from them until the rehearsal dinner, when we were sat at the opposite end of the table, away from the wedding party and other guests. Very much deserved. At the wedding, we were also informed that our role was going to be very scaled back. 5 refused to pin my boutonniere on, and instead handed it to his father. We were not invited to stand up by them at the end. We were not allowed to verbally give our blessing. The officiant confirmed it for us. They gave us a gift, a beautiful framed hand-embroidered tapestry of the family tree, exactly like the one my grandmother had but was lost, and a picture collage of my husband at various ages with his siblings, me at various ages with my siblings, our parents at various stages in life, our children at various ages, and grandchildren, and in the middle, a huge family portrait with all of us. It actually made my husband cry, and I bawled. So many favorite and incredible memories in those photographs, all compiled into one place. I tried to give 5 and W a hug, but they were understandably cold and distant. My husband and I swore we were going to nip 6's behavior in the bud once and for all, but we didn't. We tried for several months. She kept getting stronger, and we gave up. In April of 2019, 6 got a job working at a warehouse owned by a friend of 3. She was making good money, roughly $1,600 a month, still with no bills or other obligations. She worked the night shift, and even though it was located in a safe part of town, 6 declared she felt unsafe and asked to be moved to a day shift. They obliged, got her on her new schedule working 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., and she quit a week later. Then she got a job in June working at a grocery store as a cashier, but was barely clearing $500 a month. But she liked the hours because she only worked 10 to 15 hours a week. However, she wanted a new car. And after her father and I said we couldn't afford a new car payment and her allowance, she decided to get a better job. So in September, she started working for a cleaning service owned by my friend's daughter. She makes about $1,100 a month, and in October, she purchased a 2020 Hyundai Sonata. And in October, she also started dating an unemployed man I'll call DK, who lived with his parents, is a former addict, smokes a lot, and has 2 kids with an ex-girlfriend who is currently suing him for child support. 6 tried to trade in the Equinox. We stopped her because we were planning to give it to our oldest grandchild who is graduating college in May 2020. 6 decided to let DK use it for errands. We protested. She went ballistic and damaged the Equinox. DK tried to reassure us that he would just be using the Equinox to go to court and nothing else. 6 wailed about DK being her soulmate and that we should help him. We said no and took both sets of keys and hid them. 6 was angry until November 8, 2019, when my husband left for a 10-day business trip. Suddenly, she was very pleasant and even tried to help around the house. That night, she fussed about not having a man in the house for 10 days. She said she felt scared and unsafe. Our town is small and hasn't had any crime in it besides things like neighborhood disputes and recently a stolen wheelbarrow and ladder. The next night, DK stayed over, and he stayed until November 19th. I went to pick up her father from the airport and told her DK needed to be gone by the time we got home, roughly 90 minutes. We came home. DK wasn't wearing anything and high on something in the living room watching TV, and 6 was tearing through our bedroom looking for the Equinox keys. We confronted her immediately and informed her that DK was absolutely not allowed to do D in our house at any time, nor was he allowed to run around the home without clothes. She was actually quiet, ran down to DK, had him get his undergarments on, and they rushed up to her room only to appear 10 minutes later and rush out the door. My husband and I spent over an hour cleaning up our bedroom and cleaning up the trash and paraphernalia DK left. I called 1 and 2 to vent my frustrations. They said to kick her out, stop paying her bills, and let her go. I tried explaining to them that I can't just abandon my child. They don't seem to see the fact that even though 6 is very difficult to live with, she is still family, and she is still my child and my responsibility. 5 and 6 do not talk anymore. 6 texts him frequently, and he never responds unless it's something family-related regarding a party or the like. Even then, he usually calls me or one of the other siblings for information, and this infuriates 6. 6 and DK were gone for 2 days before they returned around 2 in the morning. We immediately told 6 that DK could not live here. She said okay and went to her room. The next morning, my husband and I had breakfast while DK bombarded us with his mind-blowing historical facts, which are honestly well-known facts to anyone who hasn't fried their brain. 6 came down ready for work. I told DK to go grab his things and he asked why. And I said that 6 was leaving, so she's probably taking him home. He said, "Six said I can stay here now." My husband immediately got up from the table and told Six that DK was not allowed to stay here, and she said, "Okay," and ran out the door and took off. We called a cab for DK and he refused to get in, repeatedly stating, "Six says I can stay here. She's an adult and this is her house too." We reminded him every time that this is not Six's house to say who can move in, and he claimed that we were abusing her. I have tried to research how it is we're abusing her, but I have had no luck on Google. If anyone knows why this is considered abuse, please enlighten me. We had Thanksgiving, and if he wasn't making out with Six, DK cornered everyone at some point, regardless of age, and went on a tangent about the war on D, its healing properties, why it needs to be legalized everywhere, and a bunch of other wackadoodle ramblings. 1, 2, 4, and 5 all pulled their father and me aside to ask us what the flying hell is going on. 3 asked Six how she managed to bag such a champion. 6 didn't pick up on the cynicism and proceeded to talk about a dating app. When everyone was leaving, they made remarks about the entertainment, and one stated that if 6 and DK were at Christmas, they weren't coming. Christmas ended up being me, my husband, DK, and 6. I sent a text to everyone, wishing them all a Merry Christmas, and told them that I really wish they were here, and I received dozens of texts saying all I had to do was get rid of 6 and DK. They do not understand what it is like with her. I know she is an adult, she's 26 years old, but she is still my child, and I cannot morally dump my child on the streets and just walk away. I don't even know what the legal repercussions would be, but most likely not good. On New Year's Eve, 6 got drunk or something and filmed a video on her cell phone telling off the whole family and bragging about what she can do without consequences. In it, she particularly targets 5 and calls him several slurs and insults fiancé. She sent it to 5, and 5 shared it with everyone else. She acted remorseful when we talked to her about it. But last week, 6 and DK sold the Equinox on Craigslist for $4,000. We are dealing with the legal issues regarding the sale, but we are trying to get the money from 6 and DK to put towards a car for our grandchild. The older 5 invited just me and their father to dinner and informed us that until we get rid of 6 and DK, they want nothing to do with us. I am well aware that I am to blame for 6 and her behavior. I failed, and because of that, she is a failure. It is one of the reasons I can't just kick her out. She's like this because of me. I wasn't strict and consistent enough for her. I let her down, and it's my job to clean up the mess I made. I don't want to lose my older children, and I don't want to lose 6. I don't know what to do at all. Please, before you give any judgment, I know that this situation I'm in is my fault. How can I fix it? Edit. Last night around 1 a.m., I called a mental health services hotline that had been recommended to us by the last therapist we took 6 to see. I was given many options for mental health professionals for both my husband and I to visit. I have left a few voicemails requesting an appointment. Her father and I had a very long and exhausting discussion regarding our plan of action that basically involves kicking her out and cutting ties. As many of you already know, I am very stupid and this is difficult for me to process. My husband is more sane regarding 6. He was just following my lead as neither of us really knew what to do about 6. Monday, we are scheduling a meeting with a lawyer to discuss all of our options pertaining to the car sale and the start of evicting 6 and DK. I still love her dearly, and despite what it may appear, I do deeply love my older children too. That being said, yes, I am an a-hole, and yes, the older 5 are absolutely better off without me in their lives. It has been made abundantly clear that I have lost all of them. I've known for a long while now, deep down, that my hopes for a proper relationship with 6 are dead. Failure to remove the infection in the finger has led to the whole hand being amputated. Regarding the older 5, I am keeping them out of this. I am going to stay out of their lives unless invited back. I stumbled into motherhood and I thought I caught myself and was turning it into something more like a dance. I have let, maybe it's pride or laziness, I'm not sure, blind me to the poison I was feeding my family. I knew something was going to give, and I did nothing. All in all, I can say that 6 was the problem, but in all reality and seriousness, it was me from the get-go. Thank you for your comments and for calling me out. I appreciate the tough love, and I appreciate those of you who have lived through something like this and allowed me to view the situation from the other side. I was looking for sympathy and validation. I believe I have received something better. though it is shameful to admit I am such a failure, I have heard that the first step to healing is admitting you have a problem. I have a problem, and I need help, and I appreciate the help you have given. Hello, I posted on here a few days ago regarding my daughter 6, and I just wanted to give a quick status report and clear a few things up for everyone who is interested. 6 was served with a court order Thursday. She has 30 days to vacate the premises. We also had security cameras installed. We already had a complete home security system. We will have to make some adjustments to it after 6 and DK leave. We will also be changing our locks on the doors. We also had 6 removed from our will. It is set up to sell all of our assets and divide the money 5 ways. 6 is aware of this, but is currently attempting to play nicely. I suppose in hopes we think she's changed and foolishly let her and DK stay. We learned that DK was kicked out by his parents, so DK is even trying to play nice. They've been abiding by all the rules, and 6 even approached us about setting up a payment plan for the equinox. I talked to my husband, and we both feel the same way. Just keep the money and get out of our lives. We have cut her off financially. Starting in February, she will be paying her own phone bill, insurance, and anything else. We also let our local police force know she is a potential threat. I know when 6 realizes we aren't falling for the nice bit, she will begin raging and we will be in danger. Until then, we are safe. I met with a psychologist I really clicked with, but when she does, she offers help and resources to begin fixing the issue versus just criticism. My husband is not very open to therapy at this time. He has, however, assured me he is really considering it, but is using me as the guinea pig. One called us today, and we informed him what was going on at our house. He asked if there was anything he could do to help. We declined. We don't want to get this mess near him, but we asked him if he was willing to please spread the message that we will stay away and out of everyone's lives unless invited back. No one else has responded, and that's understandable. My husband is retiring in September of 2021, and we have already discussed selling everything and giving it to the older 5, then moving a couple states away and living off his retirement. It is not lost on us that we deserve the no-contact treatment, me much more than him. I know that I am a repulsive parent and I need to spare my children from myself. I know that it is a miracle they turned out successful and it has nothing to do with me. I know that I have done nothing but fail them. I also know this means nothing. My actions have said I don't love them, but I do love them. However, if I really love them, I need to remove myself and spare them further damage I will cause. I hope they can forgive me, but I have almost accepted that this is a fairy tale. I am still struggling to accept this. I am not S, and I will never admit this to my family, ever, but I have wondered if it wouldn't be a good idea to permanently remove myself from the picture. My husband would benefit from this, and I did all the damage. He simply followed my lead. My insurance payout would be a decent sum to help him set up after he retires. I am not dead set on this idea, it's just crossed my mind a few times. My mother committed S a few days after her 76th birthday, and she stated in her S note that she was terrified of being a burden, and I didn't understand that outlook until this week. The last thing I want to do on top of the horrendous damage I've already caused is to become an emotional burden to them. That they see me and are reminded of all the trauma I inflicted upon them. I don't want to be seen as that. I want to be seen as their friend and their loving mother. I will talk to my psychologist next week about this, and hopefully she can help me work through these feelings. But I wanted to clear a few things up. Regarding 5 not being invited to family get-togethers. He was invited when my husband and I hosted the event, but when his siblings threw birthday parties and game board parties, etc., he wasn't invited unbeknownst to his father and I. Regarding 6's previous therapist. Her first therapist couldn't get her to talk, so she asked 6 to draw a family portrait, and she analyzed her drawing as well as watched how 6 and I interacted. The second therapist never spoke to us, just to 6. The information we received regarding her appointments with her second therapist are purely from 6. I know she was referred to a psychiatrist, but nothing ever came from that. I know that these are both my failures, and I failed to find proper treatment for 6, and it led to a worsening of her behavior. I alienated 5. I know I failed them both miserably. I was prepped by my psychologist that working on repairing yourself is not an enjoyable process, and it gets frustrating at times, but I am determined to stick with it. I am driven to prevent doing any further damage to my family. To my utmost surprise and shock, we've yet to have 6 explode and attempt to destroy us. I am very on edge and waiting daily for her to start a horrific hurricane that drags us into the depths of hell. She is still playing nice, going so far as to ask for daily chores, offering to pay for things, bills, asking permission to do things like use our kitchen to prepare dinner. That last one actually made the hair on the back of my neck stand up when she asked. Since we began the eviction process, we no longer prepare meals for Six and DK. She is allowed to use our basement fridge for her cold foods. Last week, I was eating dinner with my husband. Six and DK came and stood in the doorway and asked politely if it was okay to use the kitchen and cookware to prepare their dinner. I had goosebumps, and I've been a little uneasy around them since. Not scared, but paranoid. I told my husband, and he said he didn't feel the same, but was still keeping an eye on them despite the fact that they try to stay in their room. They aren't left at home alone anymore either. On the days I meet with my psychologist, Six has to take DK, and she drops him off at the library until she is off work. I snapped at her last Friday. I was cleaning the bathroom, and she came up and asked if I had a list of chores I was working on. She offered to help check them off, offering DK's help as well. I shortly responded, no, and she said she actually found with her job she enjoys cleaning and finds it cathartic. I snapped again, if you had had this attitude sooner, your father and I wouldn't want you gone. I didn't regret saying that until later that evening. After saying what I said, she just went back upstairs. Usually, if I said something that hurt her feelings, she would have stood in the doorway crying hysterically and guilting me into an apology. I don't know what she is planning, what angle she is trying to go at, but neither my husband or I have changed our minds about the eviction. Neither Six nor DK have done anything sinister or threatening since the eviction notice, but I am not letting my guard down. I know it is a matter of time before the dam breaks and I am flooded with rage and possibly V. But my husband and I aren't aggressively making the house unwelcome to them, but we aren't letting them stay comfortable. So far, we haven't had to come down hard on rules. They've been following them to a T. We encourage them daily to look for places to stay. They have kept us informed on what they're looking at. Six expressed concern on what she could afford after her car note, insurance payment, cell phone bill, etc. We tell her every time, get another job. DK needs to get a job, and we are not helping you at all. She also knows that after she has moved out, we do not want to interact with her for a very long time, and we will reach out to her when we're interested in talking to her. I have been working with my psychologist, writing letters to 1 through 5 and their families. I need a lot of assistance because, unintentionally, I come across as a martyr. I don't mean to sound that way. I am just in a state of disgust and sadness that I cannot properly convey how I feel without sounding like I am attempting to qualify for sainthood. My kids, save for Six, are my pride. And when I think about them, I used to swell with pride and joy, knowing that I was a part of these amazing people's lives. Now I just see every single time I failed them. I digress. I have written 3 letters so far. I am going to mail them all out at once. They probably won't receive them at the same time, but it won't be far off. 5 contacted me on Saturday to ask for a family recipe. He talked for about 45 minutes, just casual chatting about what's going on in his life. I tried to tell him how sorry I am for what I've done. I think I did a good job without coming across as a martyr. But he glossed over it and changed the topic. I will put it in his letter that I will talk to him about it whenever he's ready. I also spoke to my psychologist about my S thoughts. I was thinking about it in the waiting room, and I have had 9 people on my mom's side of the family commit it. My mom, my uncle, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, my great-aunt, my great-great-grandfather, and 3 cousins. Speaking to the psychologist, she expressed concerns about a genetic chronic depression. I don't really understand what that means, but things are still going smoothly with my psychologist. That is all to update now. It's nothing insane or drastic. The long story short of it, things have been relatively the same, save for Six's weird and suspicious polite behavior. Thank you for your time. Hello. I wanted to post an update to the situation with my youngest child, Six. Six and DK moved out on time and into an apartment complex that is based around income. They have a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment, and DK was looking for employment last I heard. Six mainly communicates through texts if she communicates at all. We do not respond. Her siblings have talked to her a few times since our state went into lockdown. I haven't had much contact with 1 through 5 since early March. Late March, I had a short 8-day stay in a psychiatric facility. Things weren't right in my head, and it accumulated into a S attempt. I was admittedly very angry at my husband for having me sent to the hospital. and I lost my temper and told him how I was really feeling, accusing him of having no real feelings to whether I stay or go. I know that is untrue. He shows emotions, but he's not overly affectionate, I guess is the better description. I am now on a mood stabilizer as well as avoiding some potentially problematic things like social media and the like. To provide a short recap, Six and DK are out of the house and we are not responding to any of their occasional communications. Thank you for your time. Been married for 5 years. We have a 3-year-old together. Wife has an older sister who has had trouble after trouble throughout the years getting pregnant. My wife dropped a massive bombshell on me 2 weeks ago out of nowhere about how she is volunteering to be a surrogate for her sister. She asked for my opinion and I'm 100% against it. My wife told me that she's still going through with it whether I like it or not and that I'm either with her or against her. I'm crushed. We are a family now. We have a 3-year-old to look after and we both work full-time. My wife told me that she will be quitting her job once the process begins and expects me to not only look after her, but also our son, and at the same time she expects me to also be the sole breadwinner. I have tried multiple times to reason with her, but to no avail. She keeps ignoring me and continues to plan the surrogacy with her sister and brother-in-law. I have had it. I'm done. I have endured this nonsense for 2 weeks now and finally asked her for a divorce and she did not take it well. She called me an idiot, a piece of crap who betrayed her, and etc. I'm currently staying at a friend's house and don't really know what to do besides making sure to be there for my baby boy. Edit. Should add that both sister-in-law and brother-in-law are not well off financially, and because of that, my wife expects us, but in reality herself, to cover the charges. My motto in life is that if you can't look after yourself, then you shouldn't be raising a kid. Hey folks. A lot of crap has happened since my last post. So to start my day, I ended up going back to my place after some of you told me to do so. When I got home, my wife was there, and just looked at me and told me something like how she's glad that I'm back home and how I need to stop being so difficult with her, and how I need to get back on my senses and need to stop being so difficult with this whole surrogate thing. I wasn't in the mood, so just went and slept in my son's room. One thing I remember is me getting a lot of PMs and comments about how maybe my wife is already pregnant. Maybe she either cheated or had an affair, and how some of you believed that this whole surrogate thing was just a ruse. So I got to thinking about my next step. The next day I tried talking to her, and once again she was being very difficult with me. So I just straight up told her that the divorce is real, and how this marriage is over, and how I just wasn't happy, especially these last few weeks, and just like how I imagined, the waterworks started. She again called me an idiot and asked me how I could even do that to her, so I point-blank asked her to do multiple pregnancy tests in front of me, which she refused right away. She was ducking pissed, screamed at me at the top of her lungs, and told me in no way was she going to take a pregnancy test and called me crazy. Shortly after the argument, and once she calmed down, she stormed out of the house, and I didn't see or hear from her for 2 days straight. That terrible bee just left our son, which made my decision even easier. I tried calling both my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, but both of them seemed to have blocked my number. This was all 2 days ago, plus while this whole thing was happening, my lawyer was working his magic fingers behind the scenes. Now comes the fun part. She came home earlier today to pack some clothes, as she told me that she was going to stay for a while with her sister, and that's when I served her the papers. Her face alone when she read the divorce papers said it all. She finally ducking realized that she made a huge mistake, because what came next was her on her knees begging me, asking me why I was doing this to her. In the end, all I'm going to say is that she has been a ducking mess. My boy is staying over with my parents until I can figure out what else to do next. This is what I'm asking in the divorce. Full custody, and she gets to keep the house. That should be better than nothing. If you're wondering why I'm asking for full custody, is because all these weeks, she hasn't looked after our son at all. This whole surrogate thing has been her only focus, while I'm the only one doing everything. Currently in the process of getting a divorce after finding out that my ex was already pregnant by her boss, who has a family of his own. She confessed everything to me in order to save our marriage after she realized I was dead set on getting a divorce. She had been having an affair on me for a few months and ended up getting knocked up by her boss, and once he found out, he wanted nothing to do with her. That is why she originally quit. She didn't want to face him and didn't want the word getting around at her workplace. She told me her boss offered her a huge amount of money to get rid of the baby and to keep quiet, but she refused because she wants to have the child. This is the reason she quit her work and planned this whole nonsense surrogate thing. I also collected proof such as texts between my ex and her ex-boss and sent it to his wife through Facebook. All I'm going to say is that the exact day I sent his wife the truth was a glorious ducking day. All in all, I still don't get what her endgame was with the surrogacy story, but whatever, I guess.